Hey everyone, welcome back to my podcast, Flowering into 5D. Today I have with me an amazing person named Elaine that I will tell you about right now. So she is a deep thinker and a highly sensitive soul on a mission to help others reconnect with their truth, create authentic connections rooted in the heart, and inspire change that starts within. Elaine Martini is a writer, storyteller, and seeker on a mission to help others connect with their true essence and voice. Born in Brazil, her journey has taken her through Rome, Barcelona, London, and the Algarve, a path full of twists and turns that deepened her understanding of how human connection fuels entrepreneurship. Now an accomplished creative professional and entrepreneur, Elaine draws from her experiences to serve as a heart-centered guide for those navigating their own journeys. Welcome, Elaine. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. That was quite long, wasn't it?
I loved it though. I'm like, ooh, tell me more.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Love it, love it. So, first of all, I just want to confirm. I said is the Algarve. Did I say that correctly? Because I'm like so paranoid. I was paranoid that I said it wrong.
No, it is. So the Algarve is in Portugal. So if you're saying it in English, it's Algarve. But if you say in Portuguese, it's Algarve.
Okay. I was like not sure which way to take it there. I was like, is it Algarve? Is it Algarve? I even Googled it. I was like, let's just make sure. And then
Oh,
as soon as I started reading, I was like, Algarve.
no, you said it right. Don't worry.
Yes, yes. Okay, so enough of me talking about things that I was anxious about. Let's talk about the real deal here. Tell me about your book because we were discussing it a little bit before the podcast. So just tell me everything.
So the book, writing has been something that I've been doing my whole life since I was very young. It was my way. I was very introspective. So it was my way of processing the world and understanding people and what was going on with me. And I wrote for many, many years without sharing much because I was so worried about what people would think because it was so so deep, so personal. And then when I was growing up, I did have a couple of times that I applied for competitions and I actually won a couple of competitions when I was younger. But then life took a different turn, and where I grew up, a career in creativity wasn't seen as a proper career. So
Mm-hmm.
I went into architecture and then I had my own company with kitchen design in the UK. And I was there for like over 20 years. But writing was something I've done for many, many years and I just carried on doing it. And then you got to a point about 15 years ago, maybe a bit more than that, that I decided that if I ever wanted to even write anything that I would share with the world, I would have to start being comfortable with people seeing what I was writing. And then obviously everything that I was writing was those deeper truths that were coming up about my own journey, what I was learning. And then as I started sharing, I decided to use social media to do that. And this was like way before, we're not talking like there was no such a thing as social media marketing or anything like that. I mean, the old times when social media was really about people connecting with each other. Um, and I started sharing my writing. And over the years, like I would get messages from people that I knew saying, "Oh, I really connected with how you wrote that." And it was quite interesting to see how a lot of people that were in my environment of like construction and that you would never imagine they would connect with those deeper truths were actually messaging and saying, "Oh, I really felt like what you're saying there really related to what I'm going through." And then I started getting messages from people that I didn't know because they started sharing with other people. And I would get messages from people that I have never seen before saying how much it helped them in their journey or inspired or made them think about things in a different way. And then I started getting people asking me, how can I actually write that way? How can I, because I can connect with what you're writing in such a deep way. I would love to do that with the people I'm here to help. So mainly the people that were connecting with entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists, a lot of like spiritual entrepreneurs that have like find it really hard to actually do that part of their work in the world. But it's so important because that's how they create those connections with people. And that's where the book came from. It was just me, because then over the years, I started helping a lot of people do that. But you can't just share that without actually going through all the things that is stopping you from doing that. So that's why in the book, then I talk about connecting with your intuition again, connecting with your creativity, getting over all the fears that stop you from doing that, which is the fears that I had to overcome, which is fear of being judged, fear of being seen, procrastination, perfectionism. So all those things that people stop them from doing that. And then towards the end of the book, I then take that inner journey into the outer world and how can people do that in a practical way, not just for people that are in business and want to do that in an authentic way, but also for people. I find a lot of people that connect with the book as well. They don't really have a business, but they want to be able to show up in this more authentic way instead of just being like posting pictures of a holiday and like not really showing who they are, but just being. So there's that side as well because I'm really passionate about stories, and I feel every single person has stories that can help and inspire others. So just you being able to actually do that in a way that is authentic to you instead of feeling like you're just sharing it in a way that is someone else's, which you see so much of that nowadays with all the templates and everything else that is out there.
Yeah, that sounds so powerful. Please share the name of the book.
It's truly connected. Create a life. Yeah, is at the back here.
Yeah.
Create a life and work guided by your inner wisdom, authenticity, and soul. So yeah.
Amazing.
Which I
Amazing.
never thought it was a book I was gonna write. No, do you know how life is? But then I thought for me it was about being the book that I felt it would help people the most.
Mhm.
And answer that question that I was getting quite often of like how can I share that way? How can I share my story that way? I help a lot of people with doing their like their origin story and like how they got to where they are and what they're doing. And because I it's like I said for me, every time I meet someone, I'm like, what's your story? What happened?
Mm.
How did you get to this place? Or even with buildings and art, like places I go to, I find that tells so much about us and what we've been through and we as humans we actually connect through stories. You're like all the time when you meet someone you're telling stories, you're saying what happened to you yesterday, or even when we first started chatting here you told about what just happened to you. It's how we learn and how we connect. So that's why even the book being called Truly Connected, because it's that connection with yourself first in a deeper way, and then so that you're able to create those connections with other people in your life in general.
Yes, so true. And it's I love that you're calling it back to an internal versus an external, going to Chat GPT, going to all of these outside sources that so many people these days are um outsourcing their work to, myself included from time to time. But it's really, as the use of ChatGPT expands, it's really becoming obvious, like how many people are using it, and it just really feels inauthentic. So I would love to know your opinion on that as somebody who, is like literally doing the opposite. So yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I find that is, I understand why a lot of people go to ChatGPT, and I feel it comes a lot from like we told the whole time that you're gonna be like posting a certain amount of times a day. You gotta be doing the post in this specific way, it then obviously it becomes something that ends up creating so much. Like it demands so much of your time and your energy that doing it with ChatGPT is a lot easier. And I know a lot of the people that I work with, they feel burned out, even like they absolutely dread having to create content. So for me, then the most important thing becomes like, no, you need to connect back to creativity and actually enjoying the process of creating content. And the one example I use for people all the time, and I feel it really explains it really well. So if you like have a friend that you invited to your party, and they turn up and they really didn't want to be in the party, but they don't say anything, they just show up. You would be able to tell straight away that that friend didn't want to be there, compared to a friend that they're really excited about being in your party. And again, they don't need to say anything. Both of them turn up, but you can tell one is like just there because they feel they have to, and the other one is there because they feel they're really excited for it. So I feel like if we can experience that in a physical way, imagine in social media when it's just literally just energy, and it's just the energy you put
Hmm.
behind something. And I can tell even from like all these years that I've been creating content, whenever I created something but I wasn't really on that flow and in that mood, it is like it doesn't have the same energy, it doesn't have the same, and that is the kind of thing that people can feel. And I feel that's like, at least with the people that I work with, it's just there's so much more impact when you actually show up with that presence in your content that people can really connect to that. And it doesn't really mean that you're going to get more likes or more comments or more. It's not really like, that's the other thing I talk to people all the time, because I had even a few weeks ago that someone messaged me with a link to a post that I've done 7 years ago. And they actually said, "Oh, I just came across this post and it really spoke deeply to me." And I was like, I didn't even remember I wrote it. And you literally look at the post, there was no likes, there was no comments, there was nothing. But obviously when I read it, I remembered it. But
Mm.
that's what like I say to people all the time. You can't really be guided just by the likes and the comments and like whatever expectation you had or how that post would do right now, because
Hmm.
you don't know. You're creating something to be out in the world. And that's why I feel there needs to be that authenticity in it, because you're leaving something behind. You're leaving something, like, it's so much more important to actually leave something that really represents who you are compared to just creating something because you have to. So which one do you think is going to have a bigger impact? And the same thing with like anything, like even with books, most of the books or most of the anything that comes to your life that creates some sort of impact, it wasn't done yesterday. It was very likely done 10 years ago. Sometimes, like, I have books that I read that were written 100 years ago, 200 years ago,
Hmm.
and they're still creating the impact. But the commitment becomes you're actually creating something that is fully aligned with who you are and the message you want to put out in the world. But then when you connect with that, you're gonna have joy in creating, and then that joy goes into the content. So that's the way I see it. But I don't see
Hmm.
AI as something that is wrong. There's a lot of use to it. I
Hmm.
just feel like needs to be, we were talking about this, about discernment, and I
Hmm.
feel there needs to be that discernment around like, do I really want AI to write everything that I do? Or you can like use, like I use sometimes to brainstorm, or I use sometimes for editing. Because like in the past when I was editing, I would get a dictionary and I'll be looking for, for like, if I did want to repeat a word, for example, I'd be looking up, okay, what's the other words that I can use for this? And so nowadays it's easier because you can go in AI and you can ask them to give you a list of words. Or so that's what I mean. There's a lot of ethical ways to use it that will really help your life. But then, do you really want AI to be replacing your voice? And then a lot of people that I talk to, they say, I just feel like um, I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard. But then you're doing that by just like going to AI and getting it to write your own words. So how can you then look and say, oh, I don't feel like my voice is being heard, but then you're not really speaking your voice if you're using something like that to speak for you.
Right to the core. Like in a good way. Like, yeah, it's not you. Like, why are you surprised? Like, I'm not saying it to be mean, but yeah, that's exactly right. And just going back to what you said about like books and things resonating more that were written, at least 10 plus years ago. Do you feel like there is a larger disconnect in the past 10 years between like us knowing ourselves and like, maybe I said that wrong, but between now and then, do you feel that there's a bigger disconnect in us like being confused about who we are and like truly connecting with ourselves, or what do you think the reason that is?
I feel there is, in a way. I feel there is like a bit of a divide at the moment. There is a lot of people that are really waking up to it and they're going deeper with it themselves. And then there is the other side that, again, is one of the things we're talking before the actual podcast around how much noise there is in the world.
Mm.
So it became a lot harder for you to actually just listen to what's your own truth, because you turn on any social media you go to today, or any TV or anything is constantly telling you what's wrong, what's right, how to do this, how to do that, and it is like the noise is definitely so much louder right now. So
Mhm.
if you don't have some sort of way that you already connect with your own voice and you turn that up and like turn everything else down, it is harder. And I feel that's why there's a lot of people that they feel a bit lost because it's like if you're constantly being told you're doing something wrong or you need to do this to succeed or you need to do that. And even I feel like even the simple things, like one discussion I have with people I work with all the time is like, what is really success for you? Because
Mm,
when you go into social media or anywhere, like success for everyone that is shouting out there in the noise is like how much money you make.
yeah.
But then if you're really making that amount of money, but you're giving up everything else, you're giving up your time, your freedom, you're listening to your own self, doing something that feels aligned with who you are, is that really success? Because you might achieve those like numbers that or the data that people would feel it's aligned with them, but then is it really going to make them feel successful? So it's really exploring around what is success for you, and then you create that in your life right now instead of being dependent on something that is external to you, which is like one of the stories I share in one of the chapters. Because when I was a lot younger, still in my 20s, I had this like perfect list of what I needed to be happy. So it was like the perfect body, the perfect job, a flat, and I did achieve everything. And then I woke up the next day and I was like, I don't feel any different than yesterday. I still feel there's something
Mm,
missing. And is when I went into this exploration around what's really happiness for me, what's really success for me, what's that like, and it's completely different to other people. And it's being okay with that, with like, I don't need to achieve that to be happy, to have a life that I feel successful.
hmm. Love that. Love that. Love that. And I'd like to add as well, I feel like with social media, like the rise of social media, it's really created a place like echo chambers for people in that, they are just fed back what they searched over and over and over, louder and louder and louder. And, at least with the news or, whatever 10 plus years ago, like obviously it wasn't great, but it was always the same message for everyone, if that makes sense. So, I
Mm.
mean, there was more like ability to kind of just like we were talking about discernment, like, hey, that doesn't feel right. I'm not going to listen to that. Versus now it's just like in your face what you are maybe thinking is right. And it just, that confirmation bias is so hard to escape. And yes,
Yeah.
social media is such a beast.
Yeah. And I think I got two things to say about that. Like for me, social media has been also an incredible tool. Like
Yes.
I met some incredible people through social media that I never met in person, but like I have quite a few people that I met from Australia, from New Zealand, from America that, well, even us, we would have never met if it wasn't for social media. So
True.
there's a side of it that for me is like I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity it gives. But then again, it's about discernment of you knowing how you want to interact with it. How do you want to, like, what kind of people you want to connect with? Well, how, so it's really about, that's why when people say I hate social media, and it's like, what do you hate about social media? And then
Mm,
you can just like change that so that you're actually making social media into something that is aligned with who you are because the possibilities are endless. It's really about
yes.
how you interact with it. And then the
So
other
true.
side of what you said is conversation I actually had with someone a few days ago, and it was so like this friend from here, she said to me, "Oh, I can't cope with like I can't remember exactly what was the theme like, but basically she was saying that's the only thing she sees in her feed."
Mm,
And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I haven't even heard of that. And then is when we went into this deep conversation around how nowadays, literally whatever, like you're, oh, that's exactly like you're saying with the news. It was like the same news for everyone, but now everyone is getting a curated version of whatever is aligned with you, and
mhm.
how that can be even more isolating because you think that everyone is living the same experience, but they're not. It's like this friend of mine was like, I can't cope with seeing this anymore. And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So it's just like, it's incredible how, and then obviously you can go even deeper into this and like even with all the everything that's going on in the world and how you can really filter things out and what message you're really getting on your phone. So I feel it is, again, there is that side of like, is this really the real experience? Or is it just the experience we're receiving that is created for what we've been searching before? So like even with my social media, I don't like, I have a lot of boundaries around social media. But I find with the people that I follow, the people I connect with, like my social media is always positive. It's always like it's always inspiring. I always go there and I watch reels and I'm like, wow, this is like I leave feeling uplifted. And but
Hmm.
I wouldn't spend my whole day in there because for me it's about real life, it's about going out in nature, which is one of my biggest teachers. And but I find it quite interesting how again you have to have that discernment that what you having on your phone is not like what is really happening for everyone. And the only way for you to know is for you to actually meet with people, talk to others, and connect in a deeper way than just looking at your feed.
Yes, I completely agree. It's funny. I was on some like Reddit group for people with borderline personality disorder, and they were talking about how they're so tired of all these memes and how people with BPD are a joke and they're tired. I'm like, I don't see any of that. Like, I'm like, what memes? Like, I didn't, I obviously was trying to be more a compassionate ear, like, hey, I'm sorry you're having this experience. But um, yeah, it's like so true. I also, when I go on social media, I also have limits and I also leave there feeling like, oh, good, like, because if it's not good, then I don't want to see it. Like, and
Exactly.
but I also, I don't know. I feel like that's also could be dangerous. I mean, I'd like to think again with discernment, like, oh, is this just sending me like, is this just telling me that, giving me that confirmation bias, or is this like real? So like you said, it's important to connect with people outside of social media and get into nature, the realist one.
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's always been like that. One of the biggest teachers is always nature.
Mm.
And yeah, I find even spending time by yourself in nature, you don't even need to be around other people. And I feel the lesson for me, and I apply that with everything, even with social media, is presence and awareness. Because if you're
Mhm.
really present with everything that you're doing, even social media, then you can tell straight away if it's like, is it, but then again, it becomes around you connecting with yourself and seeing if that feels aligned to you, if that's like, do you really, because everything, especially like on the online world, is built to keep you there for as long as possible. So again, you need to be like connecting with yourself and feeling, is this what's best for me right now? Yes, spending 5, 10 minutes there is not a problem, but it is just more like, I find that one thing like I find quite interesting is even, so for example, I love people watching. And in the past, I would, let's say, get a bus or a train and I would be like spending a lot of time watching people. And I always loved that. And nowadays, you go and you like, if you go to a public place and you people watching, most of them are holding your phone. It's like
Mm.
very rare that you're actually going to see someone just being present. Or even like, I love going for walks and leaving my phone at home. And most people, when you see in nature, they're still going to be with their phone, they're taking a picture or they're taking a video, or that there's like that constant connection with something that is outside of you. So I feel like even that you're having those breaks that you not around your phone and it's not even accessible because it's so easy to just have it around and check it.
Definitely, definitely. And one thing that's really made a difference for me is like, and I mean, I'm nowhere near close to perfect by any means, but having like a clock that is not on my phone. I know that like
Mm.
some people might be like, you don't have a clock. I am an anti-watch person. I will not let time hold me back. But just having a clock that I can check the time and then I don't have the excuse of, oh, I'm just checking the time on my phone and what's this? And it's just it could be such a slippery slope.
Yeah, and even like again, I was having this conversation with someone else the other day, like old days when you used to like disagree on something, like some facts. I'm not talking about opinion, I'm talking about facts.
Mm,
And then someone would be like, no, I heard it's this way, and then someone else would be, I heard it's that way. And then you kind of like you quite often would get into this little, not an argument, but you'd be kind of like say, no, but I think it's this way because of that, and then the other person would do the same. And I feel there was something quite important, even with us kind of like learning something different and kind of listen to a different perspective. But nowadays, when something like that happens, the first thing that happens is someone will get their phone out and they'll Google it and they'll be like, this is the fact. And that's it. So I feel there's a lot that got lost on this, like just basics of interacting with someone else and forming an opinion and like really going deeper into, oh, I think it's maybe this way because of this and that. And so I feel nowadays there's this kind of like we're so dependent on like getting the information right now. Even that, instead of like I say that to people all the time, sometimes I just don't want to know. I just want to be with the not
yeah,
knowing
yeah.
and just see like I don't need to know right now. I can know in a week's time or a month's time and it's okay. And I feel that's something that we're losing a little bit of just being okay with not knowing, because then we normally go into that mode of then getting anxious because you need to know or but I feel it's
Mm,
part of even life. How many things do we go through that you don't really know and you need to be okay in being in that space where you don't know yet and you
mm.
just trust that you're gonna know.
Ooh, yeah, that is something rare, I would say, to be okay with not knowing. I mean, it may or may not go in hand with trusting God or the divine, for those who are more spiritual, because yeah, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And
Mm.
how okay can you be with that?
Exactly. But then if you really think about it, we don't really know. We have this illusion that we know,
Yeah.
but everything can change so quickly. We can't be 100% sure. So I feel the more we get used to being okay with not knowing every single thing, and kind of feel like that's something I actually done last year, the Camino de Santiago. I don't know if you
Hmm.
ever heard of it. Is a sacred walk, an
Okay.
ancient walk that you do. There's a lot of places in Europe that you can leave, and then you arrive in Santiago. So I've done the one from Porto to Santiago de Compostela, which is 250 kilometers. And yeah, and I've done very much like, and it changed me so deeply because I decided I had so many lessons in it, and it's a long. I created an email series with that because, I still feel like I could write 10 books about just that experience. But it was so much around. I didn't want to book anything. I didn't want to make a plan of where to stop. I was just going with like really connecting to my body with how that day was and then
Mm,
letting that lead the way and not having to know. There's so many people that do it. They literally plan every single place they're going to stay, how many kilometers they're going to do a day, where they're going to stop. They look up all the places to make sure they don't miss anything. And for me, there was like such a deep lesson on just like, I don't need to know. I don't need to let the day arrive. I don't need to know where I'm going to sleep tonight. I don't need to know. And when you actually allow that to happen, it was like the experiences I had were absolutely incredible. And they would have never happened if I planned everything. So there was so many times that I was like, if I planned it, this would never happen. Because I'll be like, oh, I decided to stop here for 2 hours. And then suddenly someone arrives and you have a conversation that really brings something up for you. And so I feel like we need a bit more of that. So I try to do that on my life nowadays. And I'm just
mm,
like, I don't need to know what's going to happen in a year's time. Doesn't mean you don't like have any goals or any things you want to achieve, but you just don't need to like have everything planned out and have every single step and know exactly how you get in there. Sometimes that you need to leave that space for fluidity and for just for life to be a bit more natural and a little bit more unplanned.
yes, I completely agree. You know, I left China in 2020. I was teaching English, and I it was right at the beginning of COVID, and my husband and I were to go to Thailand for just a quick little like visa run holiday. And the borders started all closing, slam, slam, slam. And we were like, oh, okay, we don't really want to go back to China because it's getting real weird over there. So what are we going to do? And, plan A fell apart, plan B fell apart, plan C fell apart. And my husband like offhandedly mentioned Cambodia. And I'm like, Cambodia, like whatever, okay, like other places. But he was like, no, let's just see. And so we looked, and the flights to go from Bangkok to Siem Reap were $20 because of like COVID. No one was on the plane fearing for their lives. And we flew less than 24 hours later, and we've actually been here ever since. Like it just trusting that
Wow.
one divine, how about this? Yeah, let's try it. And I mean, I'm not trying to like brag or anything, but the COVID restrictions where we were and are in Cambodia were very lax compared to the rest of the world. So, truthfully, my experience with COVID was very different to most. And I have the divine, you know, guess to thank for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. I love that.
I look at how incredible you're still there. It's just
Yes.
like I find it incredible how I can't tell. There's so many times in my life that there was this little moment that suddenly you made a decision, and quite often it's those decisions that come out of nowhere and they change your life completely afterwards. It's just, yeah, it's just incredible. And I say that to people like quite often as well about choices
Mm,
and about how like it's not really just about the big choices. Quite often the small choices they lead into bigger things because
hmm.
people tend to think it's just this huge life decisions that we make. But like that decision you made in that moment was a small decision. Just fly there at that moment. You
Yeah.
could it wasn't a decision you made, I'm moving there forever.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I mean. Sometimes you're just allowing that space and then see where it leads. And then if it's not the right thing, then you can do something else. But it takes a lot of courage as well. That's what I find. Because
Hmm.
even I moved to Portugal last year and I had a very, very stable life in the UK. I had my own company, I had my own house. I was there for quite a while, I had a group of friends. So I was very comfortable there. And I kept getting this message that it was time to move, it was time to move. And then a bit like, yeah, it's a long story, but I ended up then we made the decision to come here to the Algarve. And I get so many people nowadays that say to me, oh my God, you're so lucky. And I'm like,
Mm,
yes, I feel really lucky, but it wasn't just luck because there is a lot of courage and there is a lot of that trust, a lot
hmm.
of I'm going to try this and I'll see what happens. And it's not easy. And I
Hmm.
find that most people rather stay in the comfortable and just rather be with what they already know and is a challenge to actually get out there and there's always the risk of it going all wrong and not working out. But then for me
Hmm.
it's always about like if I'm learning and growing, I wouldn't see it as something that didn't work out or as a mistake or as something that I've done wrong because like you can't judge yourself for the decision you made like that's like how I go about decisions. I always try to make the decision that feels the truest to me in that moment. And then I know I'm not going to go wrong because I'm making the decision that feels aligned to what, and it doesn't mean like the rational decision. It means a decision that feels right to me in that moment with the information that I have and how I feel in that moment. So if like in 2 months' time end up that there's a lot of problems that came out of the decision, I can't judge that moment because I made the best decision I could. I couldn't know what was come on after because I find a lot of people regret because they look back and they're like, oh no, I shouldn't have made that decision. But you wouldn't have known. So you can't judge yourself for what you've done. And I feel like sometimes people have different, they judge a decision wrong or right based on a lot of external circumstances. And for me, it's more about, did I grow through this experience? Did I learn something? Did it lead into things that made me into a better person? Then it can't be the wrong decision.
Yes, I 100% right there with you agree. Yeah, I'm not to be like, I live a life with no regrets, but really at the end of the day, like it's a blessing or a lesson for me. Like, which one is it? There's always going to be some kind of benefit, even if it's difficult and awful at times. I still always get something from it, and I'm try to be grateful for it as well, even if maybe for some it wouldn't be a good decision, but it's gotta listen to that call. The
Yeah.
call is
And even
there.
like if that wasn't like in your case, if it wasn't for everything that was going on with COVID in that moment, you could have made a completely different decision.
Complete, yeah. I mean, if COVID hadn't have been a thing, I won't, bore everyone with the long details, but I would have just gone through with my original traveling plans, which was to go to India and Nepal and then go back to Canada and the US and see what was going on over there. And I didn't. Um, so yeah, I'm grateful that I made the decision that I did. And um, sometimes people same with me. They'll say, "Oh, you're so lucky," or like you got to do something that most people can't do. I'm like, why can't they do it? Like
Exactly.
leave their life of comfort and go travel the world or go do it. Like anything is possible for anybody at any time. It's just being open to it and being willing to not know.
Be willing to jump.
Yes.
Because that's
Yes.
how it feels when you actually make that decision. Because I feel like people have, and it doesn't matter, even if you like moving and you're ready to sorted that house and you have like a job and it still feels like a jump because you don't know.
Hmm.
And whatever you don't know is going to feel like you're stepping into the dark. But that is. I don't know. I learned how to really enjoy that as well. I quite like change nowadays. I'm not like I used to be. In the past, I used to like be the kind of person that I want to know everything. I want to have a plan if things go wrong. And I used to suffer with a lot of anxiety as well. And then so for me, it has been a long journey around just like I actually enjoy the process of not knowing so much and just letting I know I'll be able to handle it if something happens and it's something that you have to deal with. I know I'll be able to.
Hmm. Yes. Love that. Love that. Love that. No, I want to just touch on really quickly. I asked you prior to the podcast in my intake form, if you could share one message with those on the path of ascension, what would it be? And you said ascension isn't up, it's in. I absolutely love this, first of all. And second of all, I would love for you to just speak on that a little bit before we close out today.
Yeah, I found that is like if we really obviously everyone has different beliefs, but I feel like even if you look from the point of view of nature and like we're part of it, we're part of it all, and we have this tendency again with what we're talking about, with looking outside of us for validation, with looking outside of us for someone telling us what to do, or someone giving us what's the right path or what's the best option, or and I feel the path is really going inwards and getting to know ourselves better and better because all the answers are there too. Because if they are like, if you're thinking they are out of you, there will be answers to that worked for a lot of other people. That doesn't mean is your the right one for you. Or like same like I say to people all the time, we're all unique beings. So you can't really be looking for what's best for you, whatever it is, like if it's your path, it's something you're going through. If you go and see outside of you, you're never going to really find what is completely aligned with you. You need to go inwards and you need to see what's in there. And there's a whole universe that lives within you that most people don't ever get to know. And they're kind of like constantly looking for the answers on the outside. And I
Mhm.
think that's one of the things that I learned even from my journey because I'd done so many different courses and retreats and trainings and I was always looking for this thing that would just suddenly make sense and it would just suddenly make me feel like I had this kind of like the feeling I had was this void, almost like this something was always missing. And
Mm.
it only went away when I was prepared to go deeper within myself and actually face all the things that are there because sometimes it's not easy. There's a lot of things that come up that you don't even know it's there. And the more you go, the deeper and deeper you go, the more you can connect with the outside world in a different way as well.
Hmm.
That has been my experience. So that's why I found for me it was a lot more useful to actually go inwards. And then when I go and connect with the world from this place is a completely different experience.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I just have absolutely loved this conversation. I feel for me, it's been so enriching and so wonderful and lovely. And Elaine, I would love to just give you an open mic. Like, how can people connect with you? How can people work with you? Tell the people.
So yeah, well, I got the book out, which came out beginning of July, and now I'm working on doing some like a program around the book as well. And I also have a community of people. We come together. We do sharing circles every month. Those ones are free. Those are very much like I call them a online campfire because that's what I like the feeling to be. Just for people to come around, share what's going on for them. No agenda, no having to be anyone else, or literally just come up and show up how you are in this moment. And they are always incredible because I just find that always the right people come in there and everyone leaves feeling uplifted. And then yeah, I have like some communities around also creating sharing stories and creating content, but from this place of being fully aligned. And so yeah, but you can check my Instagram or Facebook or look for the book, Truly Connected. And yeah, it's I'm always like I also don't have like everything that I do set in stone because I leave it a little bit for what we've just been talking, like to what feels true to me to be offering in that moment. And that's very much how I navigate. But the sharing circles, they're always there because that's been going on for a couple of years now and I just love them because I just find bringing people together in the community like that and just literally not having agenda, which is not something that we see out there too much. So there's no teaching, it's just about presence and then sharing stories and sharing what's going on. And yeah.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for your time and presence today, Elaine. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thank you to everyone for listening. And if you want to connect with Elaine, I will leave all of her social media handles and website on in the description. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening and watching. And see you soon. Bye.